All right. So welcome to another Friday full of yoga, or whatever day you might be watching this or practicing along. My name is Elisa, and I'm with XY Zen Wellness. And just a reminder, if you want to check out any of the other services that I have a whole bunch of other yoga practices on YouTube, but I'm also a health coach. I do have yoga classes at other times that are also virtual. So I'd love to have you either reach out if you have a question, or if you want to find out more, please feel free to do so. And always love to talk to people about yoga and health in general. So we're going to get started in a standing position today. So I'm going to face you, so I'll be in the middle of my mat, but if you'd like, you could be at the top of your mat. And we'll start in mountain pose with our feet about hip bone distance apart, maybe even looking down so that we can see our feet, making sure all 10 toes are facing the front, and then rolling the shoulders, maybe rolling them a couple times here, just as we settle into our mountain pose, just making sure we're not carrying any tension into the practice. And maybe even just gently, moving your body weight from side to side, finding a position that feels comfortable for you. And then once you find that, maybe allowing a little bit of length in the spine, letting the eyes soften or close. So if it feels okay, eyes can be closed, or if not, just letting your gaze come down to the floor or over the tip of the nose. Feeling your feet pressing into the earth and allowing the support or the strength of the earth to support us, feeling held, and feeling that energy from the earth drawing up into the body. Softening the knees, making sure we're not locking them out. And then from that energy of the earth, feeling that draw up into the thighs, firming the thighs, lifting through the pelvic floor, creating what we call root lock or mula bandha. So as we engage the pelvic floor, feeling maybe a little lift in the belly and lengthen all through the front of the torso, allowing the crown of the head to reach just a little bit higher to the sky. So maybe thinking of a long line from the tailbone to the crown of the head, and we're creating a little bit more space between each of the vertebrae as we get a tiny bit taller. Allowing the shoulders to relax down away from the ears. And then we'll just start to notice our breath. Noticing where you're creating space on the in-breath. Noticing a sense of release and letting go on the out-breath. And maybe tuning into your body in space. So maybe you're leaning off to one side, or maybe a little bit forward or a little bit back. And then maybe just shifting that so you can feel centered and balanced. And then as we breathe in, you might say silently to yourself, I. And then on the out breath, am. So inhaling I, exhaling am. Inhaling I, exhaling am. And repeating that to yourself through several breath cycles. I am. And then maybe after that am, you might add in an adjective, a noun, a verb, whatever it is that speaks to you right now. So it might be I am strong, or I am enough. I am love. So adding that word that most resonates with you right now in this moment. And repeating it, again, inhaling I, exhaling am, and then the word of your choice. I am supported. I'm secure, I'm safe. So just a couple more breaths right here. Then as you're ready, allowing that chin to dip a little closer to the chest, letting the back of the neck lengthen. We can slowly flutter our eyes open. So first, letting our gaze come down towards the floor. And taking in the light if our eyes were closed. And then as you're ready, we'll lift the chin parallel to the floor. And we're going to start with some movement for the shoulders. So taking that left arm, we'll inhale the arm up. And then as we exhale, bringing it back and down, maybe turning our gaze to look where that hand is going. We'll do that left arm a few times, inhaling, lifting it up, and exhaling back and down, making a smooth circle. And if any of this feels uncomfortable, you can shorten your range of motion. Again, just letting our gaze follow that arm. We'll do just one more on this side. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, lowering, and then coming back to center, we'll do that right arm. So inhaling up, and then exhaling as we gently turn to follow that arm with our gaze. So it's a circular motion for the shoulder and the arm, but getting a little bit of rotation in through the torso. Feet are still facing the front, but if you need to adjust your legs in any way, you can do that. And we'll do one more on this side. So inhaling up, exhaling back and down. And then just like we started, we'll do a few circles or shoulder shrugs, coming up and back. So inhaling, bringing those shoulders all the way up by the ears, and then exhaling them down. And then we'll reverse that going in the forward direction. So now inhaling up, exhaling down. So getting into all those areas around the shoulders, getting the sensation of maybe that we're giving ourselves a little bit of a massage. And then bringing our fingertips to our shoulders. So elbows are out to the side. And we're just going to inhale here and then exhale, shoulder or elbows in towards each other. So inhaling, opening, and you might even let the elbows go back a little bit, so it's almost a little bit of a back bend. And then exhaling forward. So you can imagine that you've got some beautiful wings, and we're bringing them in and then out. Do one more time like this. And then shaking those arms out, maybe giving our hips a little shake as well. And now we're going to flow through chair pose. So now feet are still about hip bone distance apart, and we can adjust that if we need to. And as we inhale, we'll bring arms up to the sky. So fingertips can meet, or they can be about shoulder distance apart. And then as we exhale, sitting down into chair. Inhaling, lifting, and exhaling, lowering. So arms can stay out to the sides, or if we'd like, we can maybe experiment a little bit with that. We could bring them to heart center or even to the thighs. Sometimes if we're a little tired or if we're just starting out, it might feel better to leave our arms out. And then we can focus a little bit more on that movement in our legs. And we're creating strength here. So every time we sit back and down, letting the weight of the body come towards the heels, we might even give those toes a little bit of a wiggle. We'll do just one more like this. And then coming back up to stand. So if you were facing the front of your mat, you might want to turn towards the long edge of the mat like I am. And we'll take our feet very wide apart. So almost like we're making a V with our legs. Knees and toes are going in the same directions, and we'll soften those knees a little bit. So first finding a little bit of openness in the hips. So we're going to explore that openness. We'll inhale, lifting, coming into a 5-pointed star. And then as we exhale, we'll sit down, maybe where we were before, or maybe even a little deeper. Arms can be in cactus, or we can bring elbows in towards the ribs. And then as we turn this into a flow, we'll use our breath, inhaling, lifting, and then exhaling, sitting down. So as we're flowing, we're going to go only as deep as feels good to the body right now. So as we're starting to warm up, you might start out a little shallow, but then maybe going a little deeper. And you might be traveling at the same pace as I am, or maybe a little quicker or a little slower, finding what fits your body right now. And then just one more like this. And then turning this into sunflowers. As we exhale, we'll hinge forward, drawing a circle with the arms, and then inhaling back up. So this time as we lower, it's more of a hinge at the hips. We're keeping the spine nice and long from tailbone to the crown. And fingertips can come together, or we can cross the arms. If you're crossing the arms, maybe trying to alternate which arm goes on top. So you might forget which arm went on top, and that's okay. It's kind of a little brain teaser, trying to remember. And again, creating all this openness for our hips that get really tight from sitting. One more time. And then bring hands together at the heart. We'll take a step up towards the top of our mat, coming back into our mountain pose where we started our practice. Rolling those shoulders, creating that expansion across the chest, and maybe even a little bit of a back bend here. Inhaling, arms sweep up. And then as we exhale, coming into a forward fold. We're going to explore that a little bit. So keeping knees soft, we'll inhale, lifting up. And exhaling, diving forward. Keeping the knees bent in both directions. And then every time we come into that forward fold, we're going to root the feet down and rise tall. Keeping the knees bent is going to help protect the hamstrings as well. So if you have any tightness in the hamstrings, maybe bending them a little bit more, bending the knees a little more. This last time, we'll come into our forward fold, and we're going to stay here and hang out, maybe holding on to the elbows or letting your fingertips trace the ground. Swaying here like a rag doll, noticing how that sensation changes in the lower back and the hips as we sway from side to side. Bringing hands to the floor. We're going to step down, coming into our tabletop pose. So first we're going to give our wrists a little bit of a stretch. And anytime you need to do this, as we are on hands and knees for a little bit, you might want to just give your wrists a little bit of a rest. So taking the hand that's closest to me, you can put the back of the hand on the floor. And we have most of our weight in our other hand. So very little weight here. We're just getting a stretch into that wrist. And then we'll turn that palm, placing that palm back on the floor, and then we'll try that other side. Again, not a whole lot of weight in that hand. We want to be really careful if we're not loading that wrist. And we'll do the other side one more time. And switching. And coming back into our hands and knees, we're going to do a move called thread the needle. So taking your left hand, will inhale, sweeping the arm up to the sky. And then as we exhale, threading that arm through, and we're just going to let that arm hover above the ground. And then inhaling, we'll rotate through the torso, lifting that arm up, and then exhaling through. So as we move with this, feeling the rotation, and being very aware of that shoulder. So only going as high as feels good to that shoulder. We'll do one more. So inhaling, creating that expansion, looking up or down. And then as we exhale, we'll bring the ear and the temple down to the floor, pressing that arm into the ground. So we're probably feeling a good stretch into the back of the right shoulder. Pressing that forearm down is going to accentuate that. And then as we inhale, we'll do one more opening. And then exhaling, we'll bring the hand back down to the ground. And we're going to switch sides. So inhaling now, the left arm up. And as we exhale, sweeping that arm through, again, maybe hovering a few inches off the ground. Inhaling to expand. And then exhaling, turning. So this is a nice movement for the shoulders, but also for our torsos as well. And then this next time, we're going to lower that side of the head, letting the temple and the cheek rest. We'll breathe into the back of the left shoulder. Inhaling, we'll come up. And then as we exhale, coming back into that table. And we're going to move through cat and cow pose. So we're going to start first with a big exhale. Tipping the tailbone, emptying the belly of the breath and bringing chin towards the chest for cat. And then as we inhale, lifting the tailbone, the belly drops and we come forward into cow pose. Moving with your breath. So every exhale creates that cat pose. And every inhale, we find cow pose. So as we exhale, shoulders draw away from the spine. We're pushing the floor away from us for cat. And then as we inhale, shoulders come in towards each other for cow. And it's a gentle movement that starts at your tailbone and travels slowly, one vertebra at a time, to the top of the head. We'll do just one more round like this. And then coming back into our tabletop, we'll bring big toes together. Knees can be where they are. We can place them wider towards the edges of our mat. Coming into child's pose, letting the forehead rest on the ground. But if it doesn't make it all the way there, that's okay. We can stack our hands or a block underneath the forehead. Breathing into the lower back and the hips. And using this pose, this place, to come to anytime we need a rest, knowing that we never need permission to rest. So anytime that we want to, we can come here or any other pose that feels good to the body. Remembering it's always about listening to what the body needs in every moment. So from here, we're just going to bring our gaze forward and we'll walk both hands off the left side of the mat, giving lateral flexion for the spine. Right hip is resting on the heel and we're crawling those fingertips forward. And then as we inhale, coming across center, left hand's reaching away from the left heel. And as we come back into our child's pose, we can choose to stay here, or if we'd like, we can lift into a downward facing dog. So we'll crawl fingertips towards the top of the mat, spreading fingertips wide. And then as we tuck our toes under, the hips are going to lift to the sky. So starting out with both knees very bent, and then maybe walking your dog, you can bend one knee and then the other. So as one knee bends, that heel lifts. And then just switching sides, waking up the bottoms of the feet. And then we'll come onto the balls of both feet, lifting the heels away from the ground. As we exhale, heels come down towards the mat. Even if they don't make it all the way there, that's okay. Feeling some length in the back of the legs as we push the floor away from us, especially that place between the thumb and the index finger. And then from here, we're going to inhale, coming forward into a plank. So we could be on toes, like a solid plank of wood, or if we'd like, we can lower knees down to the ground. So seeing which feels better to you. If we are in plank, though, making sure that we're lifting strong through the belly, protecting that lower back. And then from here, we'll exhale back into downward facing dog. So we can inhale forward into plank on toes or knees, and then exhaling back into down dog or child's pose. We'll do this just one more time. Inhaling, moving from that belly button, and then exhaling, belly button leads us back, down dog or child's pose. From here, we'll inhale, looking forward, and then as we exhale, walking the feet, coming back into forward fold, shaking out the head and neck, shaking our heads no, saying no to any beliefs that might be holding us back, those limiting thoughts. And then nodding our heads yes, saying yes, I am enough, just as I am. Keeping the knees soft, we'll inhale, sweeping up, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, hands come to heart center. Relaxing the throat and relaxing the jaw. Sweeping the arms up on an in-breath. We'll exhale, swan dive, forward fold, crown of the head towards the earth. We'll inhale halfway, monkey pose, creating length through the spine, keeping our gaze down towards the ground, so not needing to look forward at the screen, just looking down, listening to the sound of my voice. And then as we exhale, hands come to the floor, we'll step the left foot back, lowering the knee down to the floor. Those rear toes can stay tucked under or they can come flat on the mat. And we'll inhale, arms can come up into a lifted position or maybe to heart center. If you'd like, resting hands on that front thigh. So remember, you've got all kinds of options and it's all about listening to your body and what it needs most right now. As we exhale, hands come down to the floor. We'll bring the left foot back, coming into a child's pose. Staying here, or if you'd like to follow along with the vinyasa, we'll inhale forward to kneeling plank. Exhaling, lowering the body as one unit, keeping the hands gently towards the sides of the body. We'll inhale, elbows draw back towards the toes, and we're coming into baby cobra pose. Exhaling, forehead down, and then pressing hands into the mat, we'll push up and exhale back, child's pose. On the next in-breath, we'll step that left foot forward, coming back into low lunge. Knee is over the ankle. And your choice here. So hands can be on the thigh or any other option. So I'm going to take a chest expansion, interlacing my hands behind my back, relaxing the throat and jaw, setting your gaze or your drishti. And then as we exhale, hands come back down. We'll tuck the rear toes under, coming into runner's lunge. And then big step, or as many steps as you'd like, to find forward fold. Inhaling halfway, drawing shoulders away from the ear. And that navel's drawing in to protect the low back. Exhaling, melting, belly comes to the thighs. Inhaling as we sweep up and tall. Exhaling, coming into another chair pose. Inhaling, arms to the sky. Exhaling, forward fold. We'll inhale halfway, monkey pose. Exhaling, hands come down. And this time we'll step the right foot back, lowering the foot to the ground. Walking our hands up to the sky. Inhaling, arms to any position. So maybe cactus arms or prayer position. Relaxing the gaze. Exhaling, hands come down to the floor. We'll step that left foot back, knees come back. We'll come into child's pose, or you can move through that vinyasa. So if you want to follow along, you'll be inhaling forward, top of a push-up, belly is in strong. Exhaling, lowering, elbows in. Inhaling, baby cobra, elbows draw back, shoulders are drawing back. Exhaling, forehead down. And then inhaling to push the floor away. Exhaling, child's pose. This time as we step that right foot back to the top of the mat. Placing the knee and the ankle in alignment. So if any time the knee is in front of the foot, we can always give that foot a scoop forward. Walking your hands up. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. Exhaling, hands come to the floor. Lifting the back knee. And then as we step into forward fold. Inhaling halfway. Exhaling, forward fold. We'll inhale to sweep up. And then exhaling, finding chair pose. So as I move on, remember your options. Exhaling, forward fold. So you can stay where we were. Inhaling halfway. Exhaling, hands come down to the floor. Now as we step the left foot back, you might lower the knee down to the ground, or you can keep that knee lifted. Hands can come to blocks. And we can keep hands low, or we can come into our crescent lunge. Hugging inner thighs together to create stability. And remembering if we felt more stable with hands on the blocks, we could go back down there. Exhaling, hands come either to our blocks or to the floor. And this time, as we step back, choice to come into down dog, child's pose, or flow through the vinyasa on knees, or we can come to toes. So inhaling forward to plank on toes. And then as we exhale, lowering the entire body with control as one unit. We'll untuck the toes and then inhaling into that baby cobra pose. So it's not a big movement, it's all about the strength of the back doing the lifting. Exhaling down and then pushing up, we'll come into downward facing dog or child's. On our in-breath, we'll step that left foot up between the hands and either bring hands to blocks or we can lift. Relaxing shoulders away from the ears. And then exhaling, hands come down. Stepping forward, crown of the head towards the earth. Inhaling halfway. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to lift. And then exhaling, sitting into your chair pose, lifting through the heart here. Pressing the feet down to rise tall. And then exhaling, forward fold. So one more round on our sun salutations. Inhaling halfway. Exhaling, hands touch the floor. And this time stepping the right foot back. Lowering that knee if you'd like. And again, you might use your blocks here. And the blocks can be on any level. Staying low. We can lift. Exhaling, hands come down. Stepping back, again, choice to move or stay still. Either down dog or child, in any variation of your vinyasa. So you might be in plank on toes or on knees, and then lowering down. Uncurling the toes as we lift into a baby cobra pose. Exhaling, forehead down, and then pushing back into child's pose or downward facing dog. Stepping that right foot between the hands, maybe giving it a little bit of help if it needs it. Back knee can be on the ground, or it can be lifted. One more breath. And then exhaling, hands come down to the floor. We'll step forward, crown of the head down, engaging that belly, lifting belly button up towards the sky, and then big inhale. Exhaling, chair pose. So from here, we're going to exhale, arms down next to the body, finding that mountain pose, and just pausing to check in. Eyes could be open or they could close or soften as we just notice. Notice what has changed in the body since we've been moving through the practice. Maybe you feel a little warmer or feeling some of the energy we've created. Maybe one part of the body is saying hello to you. Then from here, we'll bring hands together at heart center. And we're going to step the right foot back. So we're starting out in Warrior One. Left knee is towards the top of the mat. Right foot is at an angle. And we'll inhale those arms up. Now making sure that the rear foot is firmly planted in the earth. So if that heel is up, maybe stepping in a tiny bit so that both feet can have the equal weight of the body. From here, as we inhale, we'll turn the torso towards the long edge of the mat, maybe stepping that foot a little wider this time. So now we have more room for the body. And one thing to check in here is sometimes we might have this tendency to lean forward. So making sure shoulders are over the hips. We could even place the hands behind the body. So taking the hands to the elbows, squaring our torso towards that long edge of the mat. Feeling that expansion across the chest. And then maybe bringing arms to shoulder height. Now from here, we can turn our gaze out over those left fingertips, especially the middle finger. Letting our gaze go off into the horizon. We'll bend that front elbow, bringing the forearm down to the thigh. So legs are in the same position. And we want to be very aware that we're lifting the torso away from the thigh. So we're not just dumping here, we're lifting. And the heart is opening up towards the sky. Top arm can be lifted, or we can keep that hand on the hip. And only if your body wants a little more, you could take that bottom hand either to the floor, or you could use your block. Getting a little more opening for the chest and for that bottom leg, that front leg. So from here, we're going to take our body into an upright position, but first we want to think about pressing that rear foot. So right foot and right arm is going to help us come back up. Warrior Two. We'll turn that front palm towards the sky, inhaling. Reverse warrior now. So that back hand can be on the back leg, or we can sweep it around the lower back. Turning our gaze up towards that top hand, or down towards the back foot. You might just explore seeing which feels better to your neck right now. And then exhaling, we'll find our way back into our Warrior Two. Inhaling, we'll straighten that front leg. We'll bring hands together at the heart. And we're going to turn that front foot in and the back foot out. So we're going to make our way into Warrior One facing the other direction. So we might need to adjust our feet a little bit. So now that right foot is facing the new front of our mat. Left foot's at an angle. And we'll inhale those arms up. We'll square our torso and our shoulders towards that new front of our mat. Making sure that the left foot is pressing into the ground so that knife edge or the outside edge of the foot is pressing down. And then as we inhale, opening towards the long edge of our mat again. So we might need to step those feet a little bit wider, making sure we have room for the body. That right knee is tracking over or towards the pinky toe side of the foot. So if that knee is dropping in, giving that leg a little bit of help, really strengthening that thigh. And then maybe bringing hands to elbows behind the lower back. So you might choose to stay there, or you can bring arms back to shoulder height, turning to look out over the middle finger. And then bending that front elbow will come into side angle pose. So remember when we had options here, that top arm can be lifted or on the lower back. And we might choose to bring the hand towards the blocker to the floor. Now, if that's too much, we can stay right here. So honoring your body, knowing that we have lots of choices, and it's never about making your body look like anybody else's. It's all about, what does it feel like to me? What does it feel like to you? Now planting that left foot into the ground, left side of the body nice and strong, pull those back. Warrior two. Coming into reverse warrior, we'll flip the front palm, inhaling, lifting, turning to gaze up or down, and still sitting down into those strong legs. So we're really creating a lot of strength in the legs as we hold these poses. From here, we'll come back into warrior two, and then straightening that front leg, hands to heart center, and we'll bring both feet to face the front of the mat. Now, from here, we're just going to shift everything out. We're getting ready for a little bit of balance. So before we come into our balance, maybe giving our hips a little bit of a circle. We can go in both directions. And then we're going to turn to face our original front of our mat. And we're going to do warrior three pose. Now, for warrior three, we have lots of options. And one of them is to have our blocks nearby. So if you feel more comfortable, you can actually be up against a wall. That way your fingertips can press there, or you can have the hands or blocks as an option for our hands. So we're going to step the left foot kind of towards our block or towards our wall, and we'll come up onto the rear toes. So this is a very modified version of a high lunge. So we were in our lunge in our sun salutations. That back heel is lifted, front foot is planted. So this is already a balance because we have that back heel lifted. Arms can come up. So this is one of our starting options for our warrior three. Hands could be at prayer. And if this feels good, you can stay right here. So remembering that our balance is kind of like a bus route, and you can get off at any bus stop that you want. So if this is a bus stop that you want to hang out at, hanging out right here. Now, if your body wants a little more, or if you want to try and challenge yourself a little more, you might start to hinge forward, lifting that back foot off the ground. And this is where the blocks come in. So you might choose to bring your fingertips to the blocks, or you can keep them in that prayer position, or maybe reaching for your wall, or reaching forward. Now, if you have that rear leg lifted, making sure the toes are still pointing down towards the ground. Because if our toes are pointing out in some odd direction, then that's going to take our hips out of alignment. So we want to always work with good alignment. And then as you're ready, we'll lift up. So again, you might choose to stay right here. So how do we do? So just noticing how that side felt. And the next side might feel different. And usually that's the case because we usually have one side that likes to balance a little bit more than the other. So just kind of playing with that and seeing what your body has to give you today, and letting go of any judgments or creating any stories. So I'm just going to flip the other way so you can see me a little better, but maybe staying exactly where you are. And now we'll take the right foot towards our blocks or towards the wall. And we can start in that lifted posture. So arms can be up. And one thing that I sometimes like to do, if you're starting to maybe play between having your toes down and up, it's just creating a little bit of a kickstand where you lift it and then bring the toes down. Lift it, bring the toes down. And always making sure that the standing knee has at least a little bit of a bend. So as you come forward, if you choose to come forward, remember we have those blocks as an option. Sometimes you might want to use a chair. Again, the wall is always a good option. Now, if you have that back foot lifted, remember your toes are down, so thinking about pushing through that back heel towards the back wall. Drawing in through that belly, stabilizing and protecting the lower back. And then only as you're ready, come all the way back up. So again, we might be right here. So we'll shake that out. And then just notice Notice if one side did indeed like to balance a little bit better. And a lot of times we have one side that usually is the one that likes it more, but then sometimes we'll get a little surprise and notice that, you know, maybe it switches on us from time to time. So we'll shake all that out. I'm just going to move my blocks away. And then coming back into one last mountain pose, feeling this power and the strength that we can create here. Relaxing shoulders down away from the ears. So a lot of times just throughout your day, maybe paying attention because the shoulders love to creep up towards the ears, but relaxing them back and down, countering all that forward leaning that we do. And then from here, we're actually going to come into a standing camel pose. So taking the fists on either side of the sacrum. So our sacrum is that flat triangular bone at the base of our spine. So fingertips can be in a fist or fingertips can be down towards our glutes. And then hugging shoulders and elbows in towards one another as we come into a little bit of a standing back bend here. Letting our gaze come to that place between the ceiling and the wall. So not overly arching the head and neck back. Still keeping the chin dipping in towards the chest. And then exhale, we're going to bring the arms up on an in-breath and then big exhale, forward fold. Maybe really keeping the knees extra bent here after that back bend. We'll walk our feet back into a downward facing dog, adding in any bit of movement you'd like in this down dog. So you might add in a one or a three-legged dog, lifting one leg to the sky. Maybe opening that up. You can pedal your feet like we did earlier. Or if you're ready to, you can come into child's pose. We're heading there. But before we get there, if you want any last little bit of movement in down dog or last stillness, making this your best down dog in the practice. And as we exhale, we'll bring knees to the floor, hips to the heels, down or child's pose as we lengthen through the spine. Noticing how this child's pose might feel different from the very first one that we did in the practice. And inhaling, we'll come up. We'll make our way onto our bottoms. So we started with doing some opening for our hips, and we're going to explore a little bit of that right here. So we're going to come into a position called 90-90. So it's 90-90 because we're going to create a 90-degree angle with the front knee and with the back knee. So you might be turning towards the front edge of your mat, flexing through the feet. And instead of trying to stay up, we can bring hands behind the body. So first, pressing the hands behind us, and fingertips can be away from us, and we'll lift up to the chest. So we're getting some opening for the hips, but a little bit for the chest and shoulders as well. Again, feet are nice and active. We'll flex those feet. And then from here, we're going to turn and swivel. So now we have our 90-90 going the other direction. We can bring our hands behind the body once again. Still keeping those feet nice and active, maybe spreading the toes. And then we'll inhale, and we'll switch to the other side. So you'll have to adjust your hands a little bit as we go from one side to the other. And then we'll switch sides. So this next time, we're going to come back to our first side, but now we're going to take both hands and we'll do a little twist. So we're twisting in the same direction as that front leg. Maybe letting our gaze come down towards the floor. You might feel this into the torso a little bit. If this is too much, you can back out of it. And then bringing arms, and we'll open up, taking those legs to the other direction, and now turning our torso to the opposite direction. And then inhale, we'll come to face the front. And we're going to extend our legs. So we're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. Now for this, if you notice already that you're kind of slumping back, you might want to sit up on a block or a pillow. And you want to make sure that your knees and toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. So if they're going in another direction, that might be an indication that maybe it would be a good idea to bend the knees a little bit more, because knees can be bent here as much as you'd like. And again, if you need to sit up on something so that you can find length in the spine so you're not slumping back, that's always a great idea. So we'll start first with hands just in front of the legs, finding length in the spine. And if this feels good, you can stay right here. So if this is enough sensation, no need to go any further. But only if your body wants or needs a little bit more. You could use the exhale. So inhaling first, lengthening, and then using the exhale to walk the hands either forward on the ground. We could bring hands to the bottoms of the feet, or we could bring fingertips around the big toe. So breathing into wherever you are in this pose, and we're not forcing or straining anything. So if it's too much to come forward, staying in that lifted posture. And very slowly, we'll inhale, walking hands back in, and then bending the knees. Now bringing hands behind the body, kind of like we did in that 90-90, but now we're just gonna let the knees drop from one side to the other. Nice little side-to-side movement. Feet can be closer together, or you can explore how that feels if the feet are wider. And then coming to face the top of the mat. We'll hold on behind one of our legs and use that as a handle to roll onto our backs. Rocking knees in towards the chest. Maybe circling the knees. And if we're circling, we'll go in both directions. And then bringing feet down to the floor. We're going to come into a figure four pose. So first inhaling, right leg comes up to the sky. We'll flex that foot so as if we were standing on the ceiling. And then taking that ankle, bringing it in towards the left thigh. We'll flex the foot, energetically sending that right leg towards the front of the room, and maybe even pressing the hand, creating a little bit of pressure, but not pushing or straining. The bottom foot can stay on the ground, or we can lift that leg, maybe holding on. We'll flex both feet, spreading the toes wide. Breathing into that right hip and thigh. One more breath here. And slowly lowering that left foot down, we'll uncross the legs, little side to side movement. And then we'll do that on the other side. So this time lifting the left foot towards the sky, flexing that foot. And then we'll take the ankle across the right thigh. Maybe pressing the left hand there for just a breath or two. And then only if it's appropriate, bringing that right leg in towards the body. Drawing the right thigh in and the left thigh away. And very slowly lowering that down. And then from here, We'll come into a twist. So we'll lift both hips up and over to the right side, dropping knees to the left side. Opening the arms. So arms can be open wide in a T shape, or you can take that left hand to the right thigh. Maybe turning your gaze to look in the direction of the right arm. Or you can look up. Slowly coming back towards center, and then we'll lift both hips up and over to the left, knees go to the right, and we'll take that twist over to the left side. So now belly button and chest are opening away from that, from the knees. One more breath right here. And then we'll come back to center. Finding any last movement or pose that your body needs right here. And I'm just gonna check the chat really quickly, but finding your last pose, your last movement. So that might be a happy baby. It might be a bridge pose, or maybe windshield wipering, whatever your body needs before we come into Shavasana. And then as you're ready, making your way into your final relaxation. So that could be with knees bent, with the knees dropping in towards each other. And that's really nice for the lower back. But if you don't have any lower back issues, maybe extending the legs, letting the feet flop out and away from the body. Arms can be out to the sides with the palms facing up, fingertips just gently curling in. Shoulders underneath the chest, almost like a little bitty back bend there. Letting eyes soften or close as we turn our awareness inward. Letting the whole weight of the body just rest in the earth. Softening the place between the eyebrows, letting the eyes feel heavy in their sockets. The best is yet to come. Set yourself free from limitations you have placed on yourself. Sometimes in life, we may begin thinking the best part is over. I've done my work, had my best times. What could be left? This kind of thinking limits us. We don't have to limit ourselves, life or the universe. You've had many great times, visited many interesting places, done excellent work, and had truly memorable experiences. You've experienced a lifetime of love with friends, family members, loved ones, but the best isn't over. Whether you're at the end of a particular relationship, task, or part of your journey, the best is not over. It is still to come. Memories of excellent times are to be cherished. Clinging to them in a way that limits our lives is a different issue. Often it keeps us from cherishing the present moment and creatively participating in our future. All endings are inexorably tied to new beginnings. That's the nature of the journey. It continues to unfold. It builds on itself. It can't help itself from doing that. Cherish the moments, all of them. You have seen and felt much in life so far, but still, the best is yet to come. Open to all the journey holds. The universe is abundant. You are ready to be healed, calmed, and empowered. You are ready to partake in the banquet of life again and again. You are ready to take your place in new creative experiences. There are many places still to see, soulmates yet to meet, lessons to be learned, joys to be experienced. Transcend your limitations. Open your mind and heart to all that lies ahead. Call it to you often in the quietness of your heart by believing what is true. The best is yet to come. Gently bringing movement back into the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes, and then gently rolling to one side with the knees bent. Using the hands to help lift to an easy seated posture. Bringing hands together at heart center. Taking a moment to pause and to notice. And to be grateful. Offering gratitude for yourself for showing up. Showing up for yourself in all the ways that you do. Gratitude for the body. Being grateful for this body on this mat, on this day. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.